Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk. In a different setting today, I'm over at my mum's. I can't, I don't have my usual setup, and I'm out and about, and because I've chosen to do this daily thing, I've got no choice but to film here. Anyway, today we're on to the letter P for my August alphabet challenge, and you guys chose in the voting Pale Rider, which is the 1985 Clint Eastwood film. He directed, produced and starred in it. It's the second Clint Eastwood film to appear in this August Alphabet Challenge, and this actually was released just a year before the prior one that I reviewed, which was Heartbreak Ridge. So for those that don't know, although I'd be surprised by now if you don't, if you're a regular to my channel, the August Alphabet Challenge is basically I'm reviewing one movie that I've never seen before. We're beginning with each letter of the alphabet, and yeah, we're trying to raise money to build a women's refuge in Zambia. So if you'd like to donate to that, then please check out the link in the description box. We'd really appreciate it. But yeah, Pale Rider. So the story of this film is that a group of people who are working the land, they have the rights to a piece of land to work it for gold, try and find gold, essentially being pushed out by a rich money man who is kind of bullying them in order, because he can't mine the land legally unless they leave. So yeah, he has his men bully them in the hope that they will just pack up and go. Now, a woman, a young woman, very young woman, 15 years old, is a member of this group of people. She prays to God that someone will come, something will come to save them. And just as she's praying that, Clint Eastwood's character rocks up into town, and yeah, this is a Western, this is Clint Eastwood. Chances are you pretty much know where this is going. If you've seen High Plains Drifter, pretty much the same thing, only yeah, some years later. The question is whether you like that kind of thing or not, and I do. I want to see Clint Eastwood rock up in a town that's kind of being run over by bad men, and he gives them their comeuppance, helping the innocents along the way. That's what you get here. I've seen it before from Clint Eastwood, and you either like it or you don't, and I do. I think this film is filled with many great Clint Eastwood moments, the kind of stuff you'd expect from him. He just oozes charisma without having to do a right lot, to be honest. He can just stand there staring, and it's Clint freaking Eastwood. It says all it needs to say. You either like that or you don't. But yeah, I like some of the characters in this as well. I think Eastwood as a director does a really good job here of building up a lot of these characters. One in particular is Hull Barrett, played by Michael Moriarty. I don't remember seeing this guy in anything else before, but I really like him here. I'll probably try and check out anything else he's done after this, because he's very much an everyman, very believable as just some guy trying to get by, trying to do the right thing by his family, his surrogate family. So he's kind of grown attached to this woman whose husband left her, and he's helping her bring up her daughter, but he wants to marry her. She's not so sure. I root for the guy, and I like that he's not heroic in the way that Eastwood's character is, because Eastwood's character is heroic in a mythical kind of way. You know that whatever people throw at this guy, he's going to have some kind of comeback, whether physical or just a witty comment. Whereas Moriarty's character is you or me. He's just a guy, and in many ways it makes his heroicism a little bit more heroic, because he knows that he's not much of a match for many of the people he's up against, and yet he still goes up against them because he has this sheer determination of will that he won't be bullied. He won't let people tell him what to do, even though he's going to get hurt, and even though he does get hurt several times during the film. Chris Penn and Richard Kiel pop up as bad guys in this. Chris Penn looking remarkably like his brother Sean here as a younger man before he put on a lot of weight in the late 80s, early 90s. But yeah, he looks lean, he looks mean here. And yeah, he plays the son of the main villain, and he's just as villainous himself. He's basically the muscle man for his dad. But I like him here. Again, he's quite a charismatic person when he needs to be. A good actor. Rest in peace. The biggest negative of this film for me is the female characters. I find that they are, seriously wanting, seriously underwritten. I feel like they're just waiting for a big strong man to come along and help them out, to save the day, a knight in shining armour, so to speak. And I feel like this, even in 1985, they feel somewhat dated as characters. So Carrie Snodgrass plays Sarah Wheeler. This is the woman that the guy was trying to marry, and she's not so sure. And yeah, when Eastwood's character rocks up into town, she very quickly falls for him. And it's almost, well, it's not almost, it's pretty much spelled out. If Eastwood's character would stay with her, then she would happily be with him and leave the other guy, which doesn't paint her in a particularly good light, to be honest, given everything that this guy has done for her, helping her raise a daughter, being there for her. And yeah, it just makes her come off as a floozy. She's just not a nice character in that regard. It's not wife material. Certainly not the kind of woman I would be looking for if I was still looking for a wife. Someone who'd be willing to jump ship just because someone comes along who seems like they've got some protective qualities about them and this, that and the other. It just, there's also a scene between them where it's very strongly implied that they sleep together. I'm assuming they do. So there's a scene where they have this chat, and then she's about to leave, and he says, "Shut the door." She shuts it, and then the way she comes towards camera and then past the camera, it implies that they're about to get up to something. And then we cut away from that to the next morning, and it's like, did they or didn't they? I don't like that implication, to be honest. I just, again, it just sullies her character even more. And it kind of sullies Eastwood's character as well, because he's a man who up until this point has actually been quite a moral guy, quite a restrained guy in many respects, which brings me on to the other female character, which is the daughter. So you've got this 15-year-old daughter, and again, she instantly falls in love with Eastwood's character. Now, bearing in mind, 85, I know Eastwood now is I think 91. He's certainly he's touched his 90s now. So even in 85, you're looking at a guy who's in his 50s. So yeah, or touching his 50s, whatever. But it's just, this is a 15-year-old. And it's like, I don't care how charismatic Clint Eastwood is. I'm sorry, I don't see many 15-year-old girls being willing to jump on that. It was a bit icky. Now the positive takeaway from that is that Eastwood's character pretty much says, look, you're a girl, you're a very young girl, go and have a life. Clearly, I'm not the guy for you. Grow up, essentially. To which she spits a dummy out and goes off and has a bit of a tantrum. But that's the right response for him. But it does actually set it sets the scene for the period in which this is set, because as the character states, her mum was married a year before her at 14 years old. So and historically that is accurate. Girls were married at that age, which again, it kind of makes you feel a little bit icky. But knowing that actually, yeah, we've come so far since the Wild West. But it also it tells you about the world that Eastwood's character lives in, and just how actually it's even more commendable, I guess, that this guy would turn her down and say no, it's wrong and goodbye. So that's why I think seeing him do that and seeing him kind of take the higher ground there, it leaves a bit of a bad taste in the mouth when it's implied that perhaps he doesn't take that higher ground when it comes to the mother. So yeah, that was my downside, is the female characters. Everything else in the film is just so much fun to watch. It's vintage Eastwood. You know, if you like Clint Eastwood, then a lot of the things that are in this film, I would imagine, are going to be the kind of things that are the reason you like Clint Eastwood. You know, just the way he just owns a room when he walks into it, with the simplest of gestures and the tiniest of movements. The guy just oozes cool. And yeah, I think most men who'd watch something like this secretly would probably want to be Eastwood. That's just the way it is. But there you go. No, I really enjoyed the film. There's some really funny moments in it. Nice touch with Richard Keel's villain character when he comes as this big hard man who's about to sort Eastwood out, and Eastwood in fact sorts him out. And then later on, this guy develops a conscience, and so things like that was a nice touch. A bit of a redemptive moment for one of the bad guys, showing us that, you know, even bad guys at times fall into things because whatever reason, it's just doesn't necessarily mean they're morally corrupt from the inside out. But no, it was a nice touch. Again, it's a really enjoyable film. Some nice beats of action, some good standoffs, nice shootouts, great Eastwood moments. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. The stuff with the female characters had me on the fence between a 4 and a 3.5. But ultimately, I think I enjoyed the film enough to say its flaws are outweighed by its positives. But there you go, there's my thoughts on Pale Rider, but I want to know what your thoughts are. Tell me what you think of the film down in the comments section below. And also, don't forget to check out those links for the August Alphabet Challenge. Anything you could donate would be really incredible. We'd really appreciate it. If you can't donate, then please share this video, let other people know about it. But yeah, until tomorrow, when I will be moving on to the letter Q and reviewing, I believe, Quiz Show. Yeah, cracking.